Yeah, hang on. There it is. Oh shit.
It's
Sorry.
fine. Is this being record? Is this being recorded?
Hopefully YouTube will be recording it. Hi. We're definitely
Hello.
live now.
To the people. To, there's probably a little bit to just. Anyone watching us now, apologies for the technical difficulties. We thought we were live. Turns out we weren't. Uh,
Peacemaker's
yeah,
great. Go watch it.
Peacemaker's the best. It's one of my favorite things in the world. The Batman movie's coming out. It's going to be 3 hours long, and it's not going to deal with the origin story of Batman. I agree. Wait, can we figure out how many times it's been shown live action? It's in the Michael Keaton movie. It's it's in the second. I think it's flashbacked in the second Michael Keaton movie. It's in the opening credits of the Jim Carrey one. I don't remember Batman and Robin enough to know. Batman Returns or Batman Begins. So I think in the original four movies, it's shown three times, and then Keaton, then Val Kilmer. I don't remember if it's shown in the bit. I don't know if it's shown in the beginning of Batman and Robin. I don't remember it's been I don't watch that film very much. Christian Bale. It's definitely shown in Batman Begins, and then Joker.
Joker, yeah. I mean, it's not even a Batman film. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Joker.
BVS
Uh,
it is.
it's
BVS it is, right?
yeah, it's Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
uh, is it? I don't know. Maybe the Snyder Cut had it. No, I don't know. Yeah, and then the animated series skips it completely, doesn't it?
Can't remember seeing it in the
I
Bruce Timm
feel
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it's probably in one of the later episodes. I know it isn't at the very beginning, but I feel like there's probably oh yeah, it's showing in that. No, Robin origin stories are different. There's four of them.
Yeah, there's so many Robins floating around the
Yeah,
place at this point.
actually,
There's
there's probably more. I think I know four.
Stephanie Brown
Yeah,
probably
spoiler.
makes, yeah, spoiler.
She's the fourth.
Yeah, and Carrie is,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, well, she's only Robin in an alternate universe, basically.
No, she's been Robin in the
Oh,
mainline
is
DC
she?
universe. Yeah,
Yeah, you see, my DC, my recent DC stuff is a bit, or even last
the,
decade is a bit chunky. Like,
yeah. There's a time where I think there's a time where she's definitely Robin for a bit
okay,
in between being spoiler.
well,
Um.
that's Stephanie Brown. I mean, I was saying Carrie. You know, Carrie.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she
No,
probably. Would you
yeah,
count Carrie as a Robin?
I don't.
She's in the most. She's Robin in the most famous Batman story ever.
And that story now is a fairly substantial universe.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
they
they keep
built
going
onto
back
that
to it.
quite a bit.
Yeah, so I don't know. Would you count her?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's at least five in the main. In
yeah.
what do you
Well,
call?
two.
What's it called now? The 52 continuity, post
Something like that.
Crisis 2. What's it called?
I don't give a shit.
I I think of it as post-crisis. I think of everything as post-crisis.
I
Post-crisis.
thought no, was it not? There was Crisis, and then there was 52, and then there was the
Yeah,
new
the kind of
52.
new 52, which, but recently didn't.
Have
With
it?
the whole when they started interacting with the Watchmen thing, didn't they kind of revert to post-crisis?
Okay, maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
I
there was.
got so unbelievably confused and fed up,
Yeah, me too.
and I realized that the thing I liked most about DC was Green Lantern, and they didn't change Green Lantern.
Change. Yeah.
Green Lantern just stuck with its old continuity, and I was like, "This is pretty good."
I didn't read it all, but there was definitely when they were introducing the Watchmen characters to the whatever DC universe at the time, there was a storyline where Superman, Batman, and a few others started realizing something was wrong with this reality that was draining. It was I think it was Jeff Jones. You know how he does all this metatextual stuff. Something's draining all the joy from this universe and all the happiness in life that we should be having,
This
and it's
universe
the
has lost
Watchmen
its smile.
characters.
This universe has lost its smile.
Yeah, the universe lost its smile,
The
and the entire
universe has
point.
lost its smile.
It's a reference
Yeah.
to a wrestling thing, like to Shawn Michaels, who walked off saying, "I've lost my smile." I
Oh
can't
yeah,
really wrestle
Jesus.
anymore." When he
It's
really
almost,
just didn't want to
yeah.
lose a belt. That's what
Yeah.
it was about, like in an
Yeah.
embarrassing way. Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Um,
like I mean, I'm really looking forward to this. People who are giving about Patterson, so people always give out about
the new Batman.
casting in Batman films.
Everybody,
I don't know what it is.
yeah, they're just
Michael
always going to be critics. You know what I mean? And one thing, you know, and I said this earlier before we started, I understood that your man, what's his face, Jonah Hill, was offered to play this, but apparently, allegedly, he said no on the basis that he wants to be able to pick his character. And I was thinking to myself, would he
They
have
wanted to play
gone
with
with the
Penguin.
Penguin?
No, I think they wanted to make him Penguin, and he didn't want to be Penguin.
Why? Because he's
That's
supposed to
how
be
I
like
would read
round
that.
and he's, you know, associating with that. I don't know. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
putting the
'cause
pieces
he's
there,
done
but it's obvious.
he's done a lot of work trying to get himself out of that typecast.
Out of that image, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, I could understand as well, especially when you're painted in that kind of brand. It looks like you're always going to be sick like that. Sure.
Should have just got Danny DeVito back.
I would have. I would
Oh.
be.
Yeah, but
All
like, how
for
old is
that.
Danny DeVito now? Like, your man's ticking on his 70s, 80s. Like,
He's still playing a disgusting slob in Always Sunny.
Yeah.
yeah, but he
every
gets
year.
hanging out in a pub, and so does my dad. Does the same, but it doesn't make it like okay for both of them to play the Penguin. Like, come on now.
True,
It would
true,
be a great. It would be a great payoff for Flashpoint. Is
Oh,
when
if-
they-
Oh,
yeah.
the
was Danny
Flashpoint as
DeVito.
well. Yeah. But what's the story?
Yeah,
we
that's
didn't
the-
haven't even
that's-
talked about the trailer for that.
There's no
For
trailer
Flash.
for Flashpoint, is there?
For Flash. Yeah, new Flash trailer.
Oh, there is a trailer for Flash. Yeah.
We'll have to talk about it
What a
next
while
week.
ago.
I'll fill you in, boys. It seemed like you're very behind with your
What a
movies.
while ago.
I got you. But
I
it's
must have just missed it.
yeah. Well, Christmas and lockdowns and
Yeah,
stuff. It's been crazy.
been a busy time for me. I haven't been keeping
It's,
up as
they always land at like 11 in the morning, and it can be pretty easy to miss them.
Yeah, they do. Like, but yeah, have a look at it. It's pretty decent. But then again, I don't know what the continuity would be with the Batman. So it's kind of like going with the whole Justice League universe, if you will, the DCEU of that side of it. But like
Yeah,
again,
no,
I don't know
mean-
what way it's gonna do with the timeline of Batman, the Batman. Like, how is it gonna be
Like,
strung
I
out?
mean,
Feels-
it's just repeating what
Mhm.
people have been saying for the last decade to say they should start the universe with one film about one character and build people caring, just like Marvel did
Yeah,
a long time ago now. They jumped the gun by going straight into BVS and then Justice League, and they did it with one creator who didn't really
and then we
care.
had to watch 4
Yeah.
hours of a goddamn movie,
They
and I
did-
was thinking to
they did it-
myself,
they did it
why?
with They did it with a
Hmm.
bad foundational Superman movie as well.
Yeah.
Like I actually defend Man of Steel a lot more than some of the people I know do. I think there's
I
good
think
bits
I
in it.
hate it more than a lot of people that I know do.
Really, yeah. But like at the same time, when I say, I mean, I'll defend it, but I'll go like, I see your point. Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's a
not like
fine. What do you call that guy from New Universe? It's basically Superman. Hyperion. It'll be a
Yeah.
fine Hyperion movie, but it's a terrible Superman movie.
Mm.
that argument. Like, I mean, this is out of context of Batman, but like, I'm fine with forcing Superman into a situation where he has to kill, but you have to take the time to establish that this is something that he will never do in
You
order
can't
for
have
that
one
to have
film.
No,
yeah,
it'll never
any
happen.
dramatic worth. Like,
No.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Doing
you can't do that without at least having one film where he doesn't kill.
exactly where he is able to
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Also, how do you mess up Pa Kent? Like Pa Kent is like such a simple character.
Yeah.
He's the best of us.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they
good
made him a
veterinarian,
wholehearted
libertarian.
and they
working
made him
man.
You know,
a
you owe people
libertarian.
nothing. That's not actually true. He owes you quite a bit. You took him in.
Yeah.
He
You
owes you
saved him.
loads. Yeah,
Yeah.
he looked after. He put clothes on your back,
This
sir.
town has
This
given
is
him literally everything.
He told you to stay there with the dog and your ma.
yeah.
Went in and fought a tornado. Dead.
All right.
How dare you. Dare
so
you?
just- I left the cinema with a bad taste in my mouth that day, and I've never watched it since.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't.
Mm.
That's the thing with a lot of the early DC. Like, I mean, there's some good stuff in the DCU, but the early ones, I don't think I'm ever going to take the 3 or 4 hours to
Yeah,
watch them.
Peel into it. I did.
I was
Really?
shocked at how much I liked the Snyder cut.
I liked
Because
it.
usually,
Well, we discussed that. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone liked the
because-
Snyder Cut. Yeah,
yeah, because like up until then, I'm like Zack Snyder pushes his values into everything he does, and I do not agree with him in anything, and that I thought was maybe the biggest problem.
Maybe. Yeah, well, that's when you're starting, like, and I think that's what a
I
lot
don't
that's
want a
happening with
libertarian Superman.
movies and comics and stuff that are getting torn apart now recently that I'm seeing, right? And a lot of people are giving it, like, the MCU and all this shit, and I'm like, get over yourself, right? Okay? Your mommy
they're
still thinks you're
crybaby.
pretty. Calm down, child. So what if there's a vagina in the fucking seat? Get over yourself.
I was
But it's
in a
it's
discussion
money
today.
as well. Do you know what I mean?
Little baby boys.
I was in a discussion today where people were giving out about Makari being deaf, about there being a deaf character in a superhero film. Like deaf people don't
Don't
happen.
exist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
and they were
are
like,
you
"There-
that kind of like shelter special?
yeah, but like the argument they were making was why would they make a deaf Eternal? And if you'd read any of the promo stuff for
There-
Eternals, which I had,
Mhm,
she's deaf because her sonic booms would deafen her anyway.
Mhm.
So they just what's his name? Arakim? No, Arashim.
Arishem.
Arishem. Yeah, created her deaf, so that would not happen. But like the online discussion that I was in, within 3 or 4, loops around after this, people were back to she's deaf. So I was just there like, why is she deaf? And I
Oh,
was there
for
like, well,
God's
she's deaf
sake!
because
Like,
of
what
the-
happens if? Okay, let's go as stupid as this. Why is she missing a thumb or a toe? How come that could make her fast? I'm like, this is ridiculous. You know what you need to do? Get outside. Just get outside. It's a comic book. It's a movie. It's a movie. Why'd you have to make her like that? I want her in my image or whatever the fucking like ideal perfection you're looking for. Like, get out. Like, people exist with different things. I can't help but
Yeah.
be 5 foot. It's not going to change. I'm getting smaller with age. It is what it is. Anti-Tinkerbell. I don't want to go there. Clearly in the name.
I remember another.
Jesus, these people.
Nobody can hear Tinkerbell. I think you might need a bit more volume. There's someone
I
saying
have
that in the
I have
chat.
it up there. I got it. I got it there. Just
Okay, good.
testing, but they haven't replied.
Reminds me.
Mhm,
I've lost my track now. Oh yeah.
yeah, the looping and the deaf and the people and the whole lost my toe.
Yeah. So there's what's her name? The producer who's in charge of Sony Spider-Man, not Feige, the woman who's
Oh,
on the other side. She has in
I
the
don't know
past.
why
I think
I
it's
wanna say-
Amy something. Amy Pascal.
yeah.
Right, Amy Pascal. Now, in the past, she has said and done stuff that has to be classified as really stupid, including thinking that He-Man fanboys are going to want a He-Man Barbie crossover film as the He-Man reboot. Right,
For God's sake, there's
that.
bronies, yo.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but when she
They
was
exist. Anyway, go on.
she was in an interview in like Comic-Con or something with Kevin Feige, and some fanboy put up his hand going, forcing diversity into the Spider-Man films. MJ is black. And she was there like, yeah, we made a film inspired by reality. So,
Wake up.
yeah, basically, come on. Like, it's not 1960s when...
Yeah, but like I don't know
Me
what it
done.
is. Like some people just really want to hang on to the nostalgia, and I can understand there's a comfort there. But you understand that like if you want to sit there in your comfort, it's obviously not that healthy. So it's okay, and nobody's gonna judge you for liking something. So it's okay
Well, I am
to
going to
have
judge you for
that
being
kind
against
of
it.
little bit change. You know what I mean? I am gonna judge being like against it, or not for you being able to get out of out of your fucking trap that you made for yourself. And that's essentially what
Mm,
I see, and that's sad. That's it. That's
tis,
it.
tis.
Tis, but like, you know what? You got yourself in there. I'm here if you want help, if you want to ask for it. But it's up to yourself.
It's
And
this thing as well. Like I mean, it is an excuse in a lot of cases. It's
It
people who
is.
have a grudge against some part of society who
Yeah.
don't want to see it on their screen. But they always give the it's not true to the source material thing. And like I mean, you can tear about that apart so furiously because
Look, I can go for
they
a
always
book that everybody has read and say you can
yeah.
tear from the source material, throw up an argument what's happening in this world, but I won't go
But
there.
but arguing
the
about
source
source
material
material in
varies
comics
greatly.
is just
It's
such a
so
stupid thing. It was there
dumb.
like,
Yeah.
okay, like say they're arguing about, the X-Men. It was there like, oh, it's not true to the source
Sorry.
material. So do you want the X-Men to be Cyclops, Jean Grey, the Beast, Iceman, and Angel? Because they were the first five X-Men. If we're staying true to the source material, that's the origin of the X-Men. That's what you got. Stick with that. See
Yeah.
how you like it.
I,
No
I, I
Wolverine.
I love when
Wolverine
people
isn't
are
even
like,
originally an X-Men. He's a,
Don't
he's
say
a Hulk
that. Don't
villain.
ever say that.
I love when people are like, oh, we can't have a female Thor. We had an alien Thor.
We had a frog Thor.
The best argument
Yeah.
I heard was like, I think it was Bill Burr was saying about when he did his role in Mandalorian, right? And he was like, yeah, he had a Boston accent. And he goes, your man has a British accent. Your man has a fucking whatever accent. Get over yourself. Like, they happen to
So
be
what?
from, well, who cares? You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
space.
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Calm down. Like, it's so weird that you have to fly off the handles. There's the vagina. So fucking
And like
what?
whatever aspect
You
of
might
these
be into it. No.
characters,
Um,
whatever aspect of these characters that people love, that was introduced at some point. And if people at the time when they were introduced behaved and reacted the way that these people are behaving now, the bit that they
oh,
love would have never happened.
or else you be cancelled in some way, or not good for the children, or the other
Hmm.
side of feckin' whatever argument you want to throw against the feckin' wall, see what sticks. There's always going to be something. You know what I mean? That's the reality.
And
There's always going to be something.
someday
That,
we should have a talk about a man called Frederick Wortham and his effect on the comic book industry because he was that guy.
yeah.
He was trying to
Oh
basically
yeah.
destroy every comic. Like,
Yeah. And a lot of
Yeah,
that is happening even like in
absolutely.
some sides of society. But like the reality of it is, if you want this to continue and you want the world to continue, you're gonna have to really kind of step out of your cave a little bit. And I know that sounds
mm,
probably demeaning to some people, but I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. We're not gonna be here for long. We're very fickle
Yeah.
in a very,
mhm.
very vast, wide, huge space system that has this a vast amount of knowledge on a very small marble, okay? And we're only
Mm.
here for so much. Do you really want to go to your grave thinking that, oh God, I went as an a big, dirty, angry No, it's not worth it.
But
Here
you
they
know what?
lie, pissed as usual. It's not worth it.
This
What I
is an
Just
do like
amazing.
is,
read.
oh, go ahead,
Go
Brian.
on.
Yeah, this is an amazing segue into the next topic because this
Go on.
happens all the time with that.
Oh, really? Go
Yeah,
on.
So our
all
next
the
topic
time.
is Brian.
Transformers. Hmm.
So
So, okay. So we're going to try something here where I wrote a little bit about the history of the Transformers comics, and the reason I did
it,
that is that this week it came out in the news that IDW, which is a company that's had the Transformers license for nearly 15 years, is losing it. And it's losing it to a company called Skybound. And
I haven't heard of Skybound.
you haven't heard of Skybound?
No.
It's Robert Kirkman's company.
Oh right, oh they're called. And you get a
So
company. I didn't know what the name was.
yeah, so it's a film company. Yeah, yeah. So, like, I mean, whether at this point, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up for debate because IDW had an incredible run, probably the best run in the history of Transformers. Some people, as I will get to later, argue that they've had the best run in the history of comic books, and they have an argument there that is that's it's can't be eliminated completely. Like, so, but they're recently, obviously. they ended the continuity, started a new one, pulled a DC. Some people weren't too happy about that. Um, but I thought what was interesting was the guy who wrote a lot of IDW's really, really good stories, the really famous ones, the ones that people are going to take with them. He recently wrote an article about the history of the Marvel Transformers comics, which were the original ones. And I found that really interesting. That like it's a guy, he will be looked on the same way that my generation look back on the Marvel comics, like as a golden era for these things. So yeah, so my idea, what I was thinking of here, is that the Transformers occupy a really strange place in the history of comics. Now, I've cobbled a lot of facts together. Sorry if I get any of this wrong, but the spirit is correct, if you know what I
This
mean.
is pretty fun. Some of this stuff's really fun. Is this what he? Is this what's his name? Simon something.
Simon Furman, yes, we'll be talking about Simon. Yeah,
Yeah,
bit of a legend.
was he writing them whenever from the first issue of IDW?
Yes, yes, he
I
was
think
the
I
guy
have
who.
the first. I think I have the first couple of issues of that somewhere.
Yeah, I've got a signed one and a script to Transformers the movie signed by him somewhere, and they were given to me by someone who was dating my sister. I
What
was
do you
trying to impress me. Simon Furman was in Dublin, and he
hold
went
on.
in,
So they tried to impress you?
yeah, by getting me signed Simon Furman stuff.
Hey,
Because
hey,
Simon Furman
I
he's
can
a major
imagine the
writer for me.
conversations like, hey,
Nice
that needs to
attempt,
be your
I'll
brother.
say.
Did
She
they
did
last?
dump him.
Okay, there you go. At least you got to keep the comics in the relationship, right?
I've still
And
got the
tell
comics.
him.
so it's
You
all
tell him I'm keeping the comics. You tell him.
good. So the argument that I'm going to make here, and it's up for debate, but I think it's a reasonable argument to make, is that on its own, the Transformers franchise could be representing a third major comic book franchise on its own.
Mm.
Marvel, DC, and the Transformers. But at the same time, it doesn't have the respect of a lot of people who
Oh, in
read comic
fairness,
books
like if
because it's
in
got giant robots.
And also Michael Bay.
yeah, that's what I was
Didn't
gonna.
help.
And yeah, the whole
Michael Bay
Shia
didn't
LaBeouf
help.
thing didn't really.
Mm,
No, it didn't really help.
Now,
And I get it that they're
yeah,
trying to remake it with whoever else was in it that I can't remember. Is it Mark Wahlberg?
Devastator
Mark
Attack
Wahlberg,
was-
who isn't really that much.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know if there's anything bad about
he
him,
always
but
sounds when he's astonished that he's like out of
Transformer?
breath. He's like, "What? What's going on? What is this, you
You mean
guys?
it's a Transformer?
It's a transformer by the harbor."
well, I haven't even seen any of the films with him in them. I just gave up on them.
Oh yeah, I
so
gave
long
up
ago.
on Mayor. Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
idea what's happened. Last time I seen
What
anything
was
was
the,
Shia
what was
LaBeouf
the,
and some
what was the
British girl.
second Bay one?
Second Bay
What was
one
the
was
second Bay one?
Revenge of the Fallen.
I can't keep up.
Yeah, I stopped after that. As soon as
Yeah.
they give Devastator testicles, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. They gave him. Wait,
Yeah,
am I even? Do I even
Devastator.
remember that?
Devastator.
There's a scene
Devastator
where
was
they're running
a
underneath him.
But does he produce
Yeah.
It's a
baby?
Gestalt. Like a Meyer.
Baby Transformers, or
No, no.
But they don't. But why give him? We
If
need
you
to talk
really
about the
want
birds and
to
the
go
bees.
to the
I'm Irish
conclusion on the
Catholic, you know. I don't know anything.
Also, I
he's a
think
Gestalt, he's a
Devastator will
giant.
be a bit.
But why does he
Go on,
have
you
that?
say.
Tell me. You tell me. Treat me like I don't know. Go on.
Yeah, what is it? In the movie, well, Devastator is a giant transformer made up of 5 construction.
Oh yeah, I
vehicles.
remember in the desert. He has nads. Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, and they give
and
him
like-
nads, and
The plot of that film.
Why am I remembering this?
Yeah.
Obviously,
The
it's
plot of that
suppressed it.
film is Optimus Prime gets killed, right? So
Yeah,
the
that's
Autobots
right.
have a MacGuffin that will bring one Transformer back to life.
Mhm.
Instead of using that on Optimus Prime to bring him back to life, they use it on a Decepticon to bring the Decepticon back to life, who tells them about another MacGuffin that can bring Optimus Prime back to life. They go and get that MacGuffin to bring Optimus Prime back to life. It turns out that the MacGuffin doesn't work, and Sam gets killed, right? And he goes to Transformer Heaven, where he meets the other Primes, who tell him how to bring Optimus Prime back to life.
Oh my god,
And then
yeah,
they bring
now.
him back to life.
Oh
So clearly
god.
they could bring Optimus Prime back to life, but they don't
Right, okay, I
bring
get
Optimus
it.
Prime back
I
to
get
life.
it.
So Sam has to go
I get it.
find the MacGuffin that will
I get it.
finally bring Optimus Prime back to life.
Jesus.
and then they do a really bad combiner of what is the coolest combiner of them all.
Yeah,
They made a
Jetfire and
terrible
Optimus, like,
version
And
of
I
it.
give it nads, lads.
right.
I
I'm not
hear-
even supposed to be talking about the films here. This is all about the comics.
Let's go
I
back
think
to the
those
comics. I
films-
feel like I was safer there. I knew I suppressed something for a reason.
How much I
knew it.
dislike those Michael Bay movies kind of permeates everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just a tad bit.
I'm not a fan. Okay,
love
So-
love the 80s movie.
yeah. Some week we're going to be doing that as a retro review. I'm
Oh,
warning you in advance.
love
Oh
it.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Go on.
at multiple times in the history of the comics, the giant robots have risen to a level of success that few properties have, both critically and sales-wise. The
Mm.
sales are insane on some of these comics, yet the average comic book fan knows very little about them. The first thing you need to realize is we only remember the Transformers due to Marvel Comics, in particular a writer called Bob Budiansky. So
That's a hell of a
when
name.
Hasbro
I love a name like that. I could
Yeah,
adopt
when
that into my
Hasbro
name.
got the
Go on.
rights to the toys that became the Transformers,
Right.
they just hired Marvel to give them all personalities.
Oh yeah, to write some
that's
stories
why
for them for the back of the
people
thing.
of my age group.
For the back of the boxes to give them some stories.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
written by Marvel. Yeah, all written by Marvel Comics.
I had no idea.
And that's why, no one remembers Centurions. People remember Mask, but they don't remember the
Barely.
fiction of Mask. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
we remember Thundercats gave it a
Thundercats.
go,
yeah.
but failed, eventually.
I love
But
Thundercats.
everyone
Come back
remembers
as
the
a movie.
Transformers.
Live
What
action
Visionaries,
Thundercats.
Knights of the Magical Light.
That's what-
Visionaries. Yeah, I remember that one.
That's what we
So,
should do. The Cats movie instead of that with Thundercats. Sorry. Sorry, gone.
Jellicle Thundercats. Uh, so, like, in context, something happened in the 80s in America. Ronald Reagan basically removed a bunch of laws prohibiting advertising directly to kids, which
Yeah.
led to the explosion of toys and comic books and, I guess it could be called commercial art.
Yeah.
So, like, my generation was the first generation that was just bombarded by all these, to be honest, kind of awesome. The idea was to
Absolutely.
sell things, but they had to be awesome to sell them,
Well,
so
yeah, and that's why
you
they
got-
recruit like the best artists to do it.
Exactly. So, sorry.
Jeez, don't die us.
Um,
We're live, for God's sake.
I'll try not to die on camera. So what happened was Marvel got a deal with Hasbro and they launched a 4-issue limited series for the Transformers. Real janky little comic book, just sold immensely, sold incredibly. So they're like, we'll turn this into a non-running comic. Lasted for 80 issues. Spider-Man shows up and it was actually part of the Marvel universe until they realized
80
you can't
issues.
really do that. 80
That's
issues.
the one where Spider-Man gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
He gets
He's in the
so
black
screwed.
suit.
Yeah.
He's a little out of his depth with an entire race of giant transforming
Absolutely.
robots,
It's
but
really
that's
funny.
where he is. But the really interesting thing where the work was really done with Transformers comics from Marvel was actually their UK imprint. So there was a UK imprint for Marvel's comics, and what they did was they 50% printed the American stuff and
Yeah.
50% printed their own stuff. And their own stuff is
Oh.
where we run into a guy called Simon Furman.
Hmm.
Simon Furman wrote the UK stuff for Marvel UK. And he was just, first of all, he treated it more grown up and
Right.
adult than the American stuff. It was science fiction stories. Some of them were very, very funny. Some
Yeah.
of them were very, very scary. There was a
Because
series
it's always
called
a bit
Faces.
cheesy, right? And that's what I find with the American style of it. Well, it's a culture thing as well.
Yeah,
Everything's quite
exactly.
bubbly, and that's
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
like a
interesting.
lot of the Transformers comics, they'd have like a jokey cover with someone, with speech bubbles on the cover and robots like that.
Yeah.
But when Simon was doing it, no,
It
these
was
are
more like firm and straight
Mm.
and very big and large and in
Firm
charge.
man.
Yeah.
fur man, yeah. So
Love it.
this led to the situation where, as usually with comics for kids, you've got about a year or maybe 2 years where a kid will pay attention because they grow out of it and move on.
Yeah,
But
because it's the mentality of you read this. The only kids that age only read
Only
that.
kids read that, but with Transformers UK, because it was like a very early version of what happened with Harry Potter, because the storylines were getting more serious with the UK stuff. The kids stayed, but you also got younger kids joining.
True.
So it led to this incredible situation, which was a bit like a Monday Night Wars for comics in the UK, where you had 2001 AD, which was formerly this unassailable top seller in British comics, and this crappy little Transformers Weekly comic that was beating it.
That's crazy.
And it was neck and neck. Like one week, one would be ahead, another week, the other would be ahead. And they were kind of fighting and going toe for toe. For several years, this went on. This
AD was
comic
an
lasted.
institution.
Yeah,
An
the
AD was
TF.
an institution.
Yeah. And for Transformers fans, TFUK is also an institution. Like, I mean, I remember reading it, and some of it's very, very funny. Some of it's very good. They have
Yeah.
these epics, which are very similar to crossover comics in America. Like, there's this one
Yeah.
called Time Wars, where the future leaders Rodimus
Oh
and Galvatron
yeah,
come
yeah.
back to present, and they meet Optimus Prime and they meet Megatron, and the universe is ripping itself apart,
Yeah.
and like
I
Galvatron beats everyone, but Prime has had his Power Master upgrade, and he's there like, all right, I'm gonna just
it,
gonna have to beat the living crap out of you, dude. I don't care
yeah.
who or what you are. It was great stuff and great comics, and it for me personally sparked a lot of my
Mm.
love for the Transformers and for comics in general.
Yeah. You ever think it'll
Um,
come back as more live animation or even back to I don't want to go back to the
oh,
movies with it.
it's consistently in
For
live
like
animation.
yeah, for
There's always a Transformers cartoon.
There's always Transformers
movie
cartoon.
Yeah,
wise
somewhere.
or anything like that. Would you think that had ever
I
happened?
loved Armada.
Well, Bumblebee is as close as you're going to get to a G1 inspired by this
Yeah.
movie. It's so close to it.
But I
It's
think
very
that's
close
quite
to it.
Mickey Mouse, if you know what I mean. Like quite like it's a bit child
Yeah,
driven as well. So
but
I often
but
feel
the,
like it would be nice to have
mm,
more grit in it instead of more
yeah,
bubble.
I don't think you will ever see what they were allowed to do because it was just UK.
Yeah.
He was getting away with stuff that probably wouldn't have been
The
allowed to do in
licenses or
the
whatever was okay
The,
with it
yeah
or the
the,
rights.
the
Yeah. That's
code would have
mad.
completely stopped it in America.
yeah
Yeah.
the comics code would have stopped it in America, right? This went on for several years and involved two artists I would mention,
Mm.
which would be Jeff Senior, who was kind of, to me, is the Jack Kirby of giant robots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where Jack Kirby loves curled lines, this guy loves like straight lines. But when he draws a robot punching another robot, you feel it, like it looks great. And there was this other guy, and this is in the mid '80s. I'm talking about this now, and there's an English guy called Andy Wildman, and his
Mm.
art was really, really anime inspired at a time when that was not common in Western comics. Like,
Mm.
so eventually the Transformers, the Generation 1 popularity did start to wane. And at
Mm.
this point, they gave the American comic to these guys. They just like, this is so much better than what
Just
we're doing.
go for it. Yeah.
Just go for it. And they put out one last big epic leading up to number 80. So
Jesus.
there was 350 UK issues from Marvel in Generation 1. There was 80 in the US, and it got a sequel series in the US called Generation 2.
Mm.
But the UK branch had been turned at this time into basically Marvel wanted something to rival Image, and they were having Marvel UK put out like real edgelord characters, one of which went on to some popularity, Death's Head, who was actually originally a Transformers character who they
Oh,
ported
look at
out of the
that.
Transformers universe into the Marvel 616. So that was kind of the end for them. But a lot of the things like Primus was invented in the comics. Unicron being a
Bollocks.
dark god came from the comics.
Oh
The
yeah.
Cosmic Cube isn't from the comics, but the Underbase is, which was the first giant cube that gave a Transformer godlike powers.
Mm.
Loads. The comics are actually really way more influential in the personality of characters now
Yeah.
in all aspects of Transformers than the cartoons really were. The cartoons like had real simple portrayals of someone like Starscream, but like if you want to take time to dig into like, well, why is he such a dickhead to
Why is
Megatron?
he always
Why
pissed?
does Megatron put up with him? And like comics have the time to say something like Megatron might be like, I see a great leader in him, but he needs someone to beat the living shit out of him. For
Yeah,
him
and someone needs to
to get
mold
there.
him and get him
Yeah,
into shape. Like,
yeah,
yeah, that would
yeah,
make
yeah.
sense. Why would you stick by
Like,
a dick?
yeah.
And
So,
Starscream sees him as someone to betray.
it's basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
Someone
like-
needs to set up someone so they can betray.
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm shocked. Death's Head was a Transformers character.
Yeah, do you not know that?
No.
No, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
That's had
That's cool.
they did something very clever because basically if you debuted anyone in Transformers,
Yeah.
it was the property of Hasbro. So they gave him a half-panel comic on his own in another Marvel
Ah.
UK one, and then he shows up, and he was a bounty hunter. He was sent to kill Galvatron by Rodimus Prime.
Oh, that's real
And
cool. I did not
here's
know
a
that.
really cool thing about Death's Head, because this ties up so many different science fiction continuities.
Yeah.
How he got into the Marvel 616 universe was he got a bounty for a character that Marvel also had the licensing rights for, the Doctor. So there are several comics where Death's Head is hunting down the Doctor. And in their kind of final confrontation, Death's Head hates the Doctor. He really annoys him for some reason. The
But he's
Doctor
been hunting
uses
him
the
for
mask.
7 comics, man. Like, who wouldn't?
Yeah,
You know what I
the
mean?
Doctor shrinks him down to human size,
Yeah.
right, using the Master's matter decompression
Yeah,
screwdriver
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
The
yeah.
shrink
And then
screwdriver.
and then
The
to get
shrink
rid of him, he just teleports over to. He just takes the TARDIS with Death's Head into it over to 616, and then just drops him on the Baxter building.
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's class. I
So
like that a lot.
yeah, so Death's Head is a link between the Transformers, Doctor Who, and the mainline Marvel universe.
That's
And no one seems
mad.
to. Yeah, yeah. So this
That's
it's insane.
really
Like,
I like that.
cool.
I like that so much. I love that so much. That like little tips like that. Oh God. Obviously, I'm into it now.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. That's the one thing I absolutely miss is having that kind of in depth. Which obviously the movies and some of like if they were to make the Transformers into like a proper TV where it's real in depth and are building characters or anything like that. Well, obviously they have that with the animation a bit more.
Mm.
But I don't know. I cannot see it doing movie wise live action anytime soon because of Shia LaBeouf
You can't.
and Bayers.
You can't do a live action Transformers TV series.
No.
Yet.
No,
Yet.
no. But
It's
Transformers.
Not until
Prime is
Disney
as
gets
close.
its hands on it.
Yeah, not
Oh.
exactly. Like it's genuinely there's not enough money in TV budgeting to do a live action Transformers movie yet.
Yet. Not until
But
Disney gets their hands
Animated,
especially.
some of the animated series are really good.
Transformers Prime, Transformers Animated. If you wanted to watch any of them, they'd be the two
on it. Mm.
I'd suggest. But
I
Prime
love
especially is very
Armada, but
watchable.
that's because I have massive nostalgia for Armada and the two Beast Wars series.
Yeah, the Unicron trilogy, yeah, and Beast Wars, and Beast Machine. Very, very good stuff. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, highbrow
I
for their time.
you were saying that about Unicron's Dark God. I really wish they'd never reveal the origin of Unicron.
Why?
He is-
I love the idea of him as an unknowable.
Oh, you enjoyed the chase
unfeeling
and not the
machine.
catch of the information.
I
Oh,
I
Ado.
think Unicron is at his coolest when
he's just
he's just a being of destruction, and you don't know what he is, but he arrives and he feeds. He's unknowable and just unfeeling machine of death.
Yeah, but you gotta have an origin,
I
man.
suppose, yeah.
But I can understand. I like the chase of it. I do.
Mhm.
But I'd have to have
But-
something by the end of it. You know what I mean? I can't just be like, he'll always chase, and it'd be like, but I need something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, in saying that, you call him a dark god anyway. Even if you
he
don't
is
know
a
what
dark god. Like he's a destructive force of the universe.
Yeah.
Like one
Oh,
way or the
yeah.
other.
yeah.
Right.
But
So
I love Unicron as a concept.
yeah. Well, he's Galactus, only more so, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's Galactus with no feelings. Like I think Unicron is like, yeah. A
Do you ever think
force.
we're gonna see Galactus? So everyone always keeps hyping him up for the last 10 years.
Oh,
and
well-
I'm like, I don't think we're gonna see it. We're gonna see
Galactus
it
is
in
the
Endgame. We're gonna see it
Galactus
in
is the next
Turtles.
Turtles.
Thanos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the next. He's gonna be a Thanos.
Yeah, but what about we'll hold that for another. We'll hold that for another episode.
Oh, it might be. It might be Era 3. It might like we don't know, but it's you would be missing a massive opportunity to not use Galactus at some point.
Oh, they will.
Kind of hints it
Right.
in the whatever. But anyway, go on.
So at this point, it looks like it's all over for the Transformers, right? But the only place in the world that's still making them is Europe, physically making toys. And for some
We're
reason,
still selling Transformers.
yeah, we're
Oh yeah.
we're at
Hold
Go
on.
to
we're
a toy
at
shop. There's
we're about
lots of them.
1991,
The lies.
1992, and there's European exclusive Transformer toys, and they sell gangbusters. So this kind of dark period, Generation 2. There was a Marvel comic, didn't do well. There was a UK comic, it didn't do well either. And this kind of null period, it's gradually getting better and better. There's a couple of Japanese series that are imported, like Robots in the Skies, but
Oh,
where
so good.
the comics pickup is about, I think it's 2001. A company called Dreamwave buys the Transformers license. And people like me, kids like me who are growing up, are now hungry for more Transformers comics.
Jesus,
And
yeah, I can still
Dreamwave,
buy them.
yeah, there's constantly Transformers being made to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
So
one
Look
here
at
for
Masterpiece. Look up. Yeah.
1,079.
Look at Masterpiece Transformers.
yeah, if you want to see some dear ones.
Oh,
So
God.
I,
Made out
so
of
this
like metal and shit, right?
they're
yeah,
beautiful.
well, mm. so this company Dreamwave is actually a spin-off from Image Comics.
Yeah.
It's a spin-off from the spin-off of the big two, right?
What's up?
And Dreamwave was founded by this guy called Pat Lee, who was a legit Transformers fan. He bought a lot of licenses for 80 stuff. He bought the Turtles as well and a few others.
Ooh, good
But
investments.
yeah. But what he did, Pat Lee, did I say his name right? Pat
Yes.
Lee, yeah. What he
Hope
did
so.
was start putting out the Transformers comics instantly, and this is kind of like the second huge financial phase for the Transformers.
Mm.
I was reading Wizard and the like at the time, and you used to see the sales in the comics books, and it would be Batman, Detective Comics, Transformers, and then like Wolverine. Every week, like 4 or 5 slots in the top 10 in the 2000s were Transformers comics. These things were selling insane. Now, initially, the
But
art at this point,
go on,
mm,
I'm listening.
the art at this point, Joe Madureira had hit, so people were happy to do anime stylings in Western comics. They were really anime inspired. But I think they ran into a problem in that this guy Pat Lee had a house style. He was making all the other artists draw like him,
Oh
and
yeah.
became like he was that extreme. Like he came from Image, he had that extreme 90s style of art,
Mm.
and there was like some Rob
Muscular,
Liefeld jokes
muscular
starting to build of him.
Transformers.
Yeah, like Rob Liefeld Transformers. But the interesting thing was he did it the opposite to Rob Liefeld. You know the way Rob Liefeld hated feet.
Yeah, he cannot draw feet
He
at
cannot
all.
draw
Oh
feet.
yeah, I can't draw
The,
feet.
the way Pat Lee would draw feet was draw Transformers. He really wanted to foreshorten them to make them look massive. So they'd always have humongous feet and teeny tiny little heads
Oh
sitting on
yeah,
top.
like little matchstick
Oh,
tops.
as if you're looking up at them.
Yeah, as if you're constantly looking at, but like, cause he liked anime, it was to an extreme. Like
Yeah.
it looked
Yeah.
a bit silly, and he was very famous. It's one of these things that there's lots of things in Transformers that does the rounds in pop cultures that people don't know come from Transformers. Like the way people say Pokemon Gen 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Transformers, the first generation, is referred to as G1, and that's where it originally got taken from. So
Ah.
yeah, and that was the first, because there was a Generation 2 was the second name of the second comic book run. So Generation 1, G1, Gen 1, it all actually goes back to that. That's specifically where it came from. There's also
It's so
Ruined Forever is a thing that comes from Transformers that people pull up all the time. You'll always know what we were talking about earlier. Transformers has changed so much. Sometimes they're half robot, half alive, and Truck Not Monkey, and there's all these arguments over them. So it
oh my
became a thing
god.
where like these fanboys who couldn't move on were talking about how everything, like, because there's so many versions of Transformers, every one of them has ruined Transformers forever. So
Yeah.
now, whenever you hear someone talking, if you just say, "I don't know, that's ruined forever," I guess
Ruined
that's a
forever.
Transformers fan
Oh
taking
my
the piss out
god,
of
that
them.
mind blows my mind. I had no idea about that at all. Now every single Bob Ross live fucking stream is now ruined for me.
Yeah.
Ruined
Well, if you go,
forever.
They're-
the Transformers wiki has loads. TFWiki.net has loads of this stuff. It's a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
we
fun.
shared this. We talked about this. Yeah.
G1 purists are very annoying.
They are. They are. I mean, I'm
Are
a
they
G1
like the
kid,
vegans
and
of the comic side of it? Like.
oh, they're worse.
Yeah,
Are
I,
they?
They're
I
actually
looked
worse.
up Pat Lee. And you're right. The old teeny tiny heads. It's so funny.
And whenever he draws a human, there's this look that people named dull surprise. It's always like,
I love it so much.
Oh,
It's so
like
good.
the Bioware
Yeah.
look.
yeah, without fail. So, unfortunately, right, even though these comic books were selling like mad,
Mm.
Pat Lee is not popular in the comic book industry for a very good reason, because he was draining all the money out of Dreamwave. He was driving around
Oh.
Lambos, he was going on constant holidays, he was living the rock star lifestyle. and not paying artists like Don Figueroa for their absolutely amazing work. That he was
See you on
forcing them,
Monday. Bye. Beep beep. Just
yeah,
drives
yeah,
off
to
his
do like him.
Lambo.
They ran out of money completely for no good reason in 2005. And this man has never been forgiven by artists or Transformers fan because they were onto a really, really good thing.
And he fecked it up. Well,
But
he fecked it up.
yeah, he fecked it up. He fecked it up badly. But that did lead to a company called IDW picking up the license. And
Mm.
IDW is where this conversation actually really gets interesting.
Dive. Go.
Right. So IDW have the license to this day since 2005. They've put out 420 issues of Transformers comics. They
Until this day.
until this day, and they still have some more before the license runs out at
Yeah.
the end of this year. So there is basically three eras, two really, but three eras to IDW:
Right.
Furman and post Furman. So what IDW they really wanted to take care of the brand. They got some really really good fan artists, who had become professional artists.
Yeah.
They got a load of them in to draw, and they got Simon Furman back. Simon
It's a good
Furman created,
idea.
yeah. He created this universe which was inspired by how the world was when in the 80s and the Transformers came out. He made this Cold War. I think you read some of them. This Cold War thing going on
Yeah.
where there was only a few Autobots and a few Decepticons on Earth. They never transformed into robot form in front of people. It was a total secret that they were here. The Decepticons were trying to basically destroy the Earth and rob all the energy from it. The Autobots were trying to
Wasn't
stop
the
them.
first season was called Infiltration, wasn't it?
Yeah, they refer to it as the Asian series because
Ooh.
what they do like a 6 or 7 issue run called say Infiltration, and the next one was like Devastation, and so on. And they were all
Yeah.
Asian was the name of them all.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of Asians.
yeah. So
All
they
the
all of
Asians.
a lot of Furman stuff was Asians. Now people were like, "We want to know what Optimus Prime's up to and Megatron is." So they did some stuff on other planets, bringing them
Because
back
that's how
in.
they sound.
Mm. Now,
Good. Go
like
on.
these comics are great. They're really
Yeah.
readable to this day. They're a lot of fun, but they're a little slower than modern comics, if you know what I mean. And
How slower? What do you mean? As in slower burn into the story or into
it'd be like
like
the way like watching Dune is a bit slow, but you're just
stop?
staring at the
They,
pretty.
they
It
told me on
doesn't
the
matter that it's slow.
posters it was just
Yeah,
Doom, but what I got in there was part one and just yeah. Anyway, fun.
yeah.
Different argument.
But it's great because you're looking at all the pretty visuals and everything and the sounds and I love Dune. But anyway,
Part one.
yeah. So to me the Furman
Strong
stuff is
agree.
like that. But the Furman era ends with this real interesting idea for the Transformers, right? So you're getting your very stereotypical, there's this universe level threat. It's
Right.
killing Autobots and Decepticons. Optimus Prime goes up to Megatron and says, we need to join forces. We're pretty much unbeatable in this entire universe if we work together because we're basically demigods, which they are.
But
Like these
yeah.
guys have been at war for 5 million years. If they can't kill something, nothing can. You know what I mean? So they
True. Yeah.
do. They stop this universe ending threat. And usually what happens with this is the villain turns around to the hero and says, we're allies now, but next time I see you, we will be arch nemesis and I will not hesitate to kill you. But instead, Megatron goes, that's it. I'm done. I surrender. And they end the Transformers war, right? And this brings in the second phase of IDW. So what happens at this point is they start ramping up political intrigue, stuff like this. Optimus Prime is basically thrown off of Cybertron because there's these Transformers who were never part of the war called the Nails, non-aligned intelligent life forms,
Hmm.
where they're like, that guy's not our leader. He kept
The
this
neutrals.
the
The
neutrals, yeah.
neutrals.
So
You
as
just
long
come
as
from a background of neutrality.
so as long as Prime and Megatron are in charge, there will never truly be peace. So the two of them
Yeah.
give up. And Optimus Prime disappears for the comics for quite some while. He renames himself Orion Pax, which is his original name, and he vanishes off. Bumblebee gets voted the leader of the Autobots, and there's a comic called Robots in the Skies. There's loads of cool political
Yeah.
intrigue going on there.
I feel like they drew
Uh,
some of that storyline into the animation or took it out of the animation from the
yeah, there
from what
are
I remember in the
several.
80s.
Yeah, there are
The,
several cartoons where the war ends or whatever, but this is the
like
first
your
time you get
Optimus
like
Prime
a.
dies and everyone just
Mm,
continues and
mm,
Bumblebee is like, come on guys. And I'm like, oh,
mm,
this is lame. And that's what I probably grew up. But anyway.
mm. So we're at the point where you have to discuss a writer called James Roberts, and he's the
Right.
guy who wrote the article I was talking about earlier that inspired me to even talk about all this. So James Roberts wrote what I consider one of the very best long-run comics of all time, More Than Meets the Eye, which later got renamed Lost Light.
Cool.
And the idea behind this comic is that the war's over in Cybertron, as I said.
Mm.
There's a whole bunch of Transformers who are either traumatized by the war or can't get over the fact that the war is over,
Right.
right? So, like, they're
Mm.
dealing with
It's a,
PTSD
it's
in
a
a very,
PTSD
very,
Yeah.
story then.
yeah, it's a PTSD story. So what
For
happens
giant
is,
robots.
yeah,
Yeah,
with
well,
giant robots. This is the crazy thing. Like, there's like it's science fiction. You know,
This
you
sounds
deal with heavy
incredible,
things.
Brian. You're making this sound really, really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's better than I can make it sound. It genuinely is, right? So what happens is, part of the way that the Furman era ended was Optimus leaves Hot Rod, who everyone knows Hot Rod eventually becomes his
Yeah,
successor
Rodimus.
Yeah.
when he grows up. Like, yeah. He leaves Hot Rod with the information there's a lost tribe called the Cybertronian Knights somewhere out in space. You go find them. So Hot Rod puts a ship together, and all these people who are feeling worthless or agitated or don't know what to do get on this ship together and go looking for this lost tribe. So you've got this kind of capsule thing with a bunch of transformers on it, and we're following their journeys. And this
Mm.
comic, it covers issues like trans rights, because there is male and female transformers, and some of them are like Cyclonus. Physically appears male when they all have hologrammatic avatars for when they want to send someone out into societies where they can't be
Yeah.
giant robots, and it's female falls in love with another male-coded transformer. There's loads of stories like that, like gay rights and stuff like that as well.
I
A
think
lot of
it's
stuff
really
like
cool
this.
that it's powerful that they can really put it into these type of
In, in,
platforms or
yeah,
storybooks, if you will.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Instead of making it more silly, it actually really serves the analogy,
Yeah.
because when two male coded robots fall in love, other robots are there like they're just robots. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, so it's really, really, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And there, I just want to mention one particular issue, which is one of my favorite things. It's so funny, this comic sometimes. There's a shore leave issue, right? Where they've been at it a while and they're tired. And there are places where Transformers can go drink. In the Transformers universe, there's loads of robotic life forms. So they go to this bar, and there's just one panel that sticks out in my head. Ultra Magnus is with them, right? He gets absolutely locked and he's hammered. He falls asleep on the table. And because his head is basically square, they're leaving all their empty
Oh my
jars
god.
on the back of his head. So I just a metal image of him waking up. But there's this
That's
great storyline in this issue where, like, Transformers, Autobots are there. They are locked. And they're mainly the Autobot ones that are there. And these smaller robots come in. They look really, really haggard. And the Autobots like, you all right? And they're like, yeah, they're called something like, we're the Verity bots. And we've
Okay.
just started a war with our enemies, the evil cons. And they're hammering us. And the Autobots are like, where the fuck are they? We've been doing this for 5 million
Why do I
years.
feel like this is such a familiar conversation that happened?
Yeah.
I feel like it has a certain remnant. So there he was on the bar lock, so he started putting
Yeah.
cans in his head. I'm like, this is oddly familiar. So a
So
fella comes in
anyway.
and said, some fella scrapping was like, where are they?
So the Autobots then go and find these guys, kill them, right?
Well,
They're
we
like,
don't go that
you
far.
guys are assholes. We're going to sort this war out. They kill them, and it turns out that the guys that they met in the bar are actually this war's Decepticons, and they're just after completely destabilizing their
they got
space.
tricked into killing the good guys.
There's another
But
one
yes,
where
the good guys
I
are called
imagine only makes the
Evicons.
PTSD worst.
yeah, it's not great. There's another one where
You shouldn't be
this is
drinking, in fairness, but anyway.
there's,
Um,
there's another one
Not a good
where
way to, not a good way to
there's
deal
another
with
one where Ultra Magnus gets, you know, these kind of storylines where someone gets shrunk down and has to go into someone else to fix something. They have
Yes.
one of
oh
them,
yeah.
but Ultra Magnus has somehow managed to get an STD. And
Wait,
so
hold on.
has to
Wait,
shrink
hold
down
on.
to
Hold
go
on.
into
How,
a bit of
wait,
fix.
wait, 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 wait,
Like a
wait.
robot
Oh,
STD. I
Is
don't
there,
know.
I-
is, there, is, there,
I-
is there a Transformers whorehouse program,
What-
surely?
there's a Is there a red light
Scrap
district?
I don't know.
An LED district? Is that what it be
Yeah,
called for them?
yeah, an LED district. Yeah. He's
Okay.
got-
I love it.
So you picked up.
actually, this
Right.
leaves me to probably the most interesting thing, because at this point on the ship, this is a great segue. It's being led by Megatron, but it's Autobot Megatron. And this, to me, is the master stroke of IDW. So Hot Rod, there's Ultra Magnus was supposed to be dealing with some kind of diplomatic thing with this
Right.
alien race. And the alien race are really insulted that he's not coming to help them because he's dying. Like, so Hot Rod's trying to calm them down. And Autobot Megatron's on the bridge, and Autobot Megatron's trying to be a good guy, and they're threatening Hot Rod. So he leans into Hot Rod, and he's there like, in this situation, do we blow them out of the sky and destroy all their family? Hot Rod's there like, no, oh, we don't do that as Autobots. And Megatron's like, you sure? Because like they're threatening you.
We could just totally just.
I defend my friends. Like,
What the fuck is wrong with people?
so
I love the idea of Megatron trying to learn how to be good. That sounds amazing.
It's a bit strange. It's that anti-hero kind of making their move over to the nice side. You're like, yeah, I can
It's
still
Venom.
kill him.
it is
Vigilante.
Venom, but you
That's what
have
it
to
is.
talk like to understand. Like, I've said loads of good things about this run, but to me, Autobot Megatron is just the best thing. So what happens is, remember I was talking about this. So this thing that Optimus and Megatron have to sort out together, was Megatron's fault. And the
That's why he
hundreds of
surrenders.
Decepticons get
I thought you were gonna cry
the-
there, Brian.
the universe-ending threat I was talking about that led to
Yeah.
Okay.
that was Megatron's fault. It was something he did to lead to that. And at the end of it, he's there like, this is not why I started this. Like,
Mm.
I didn't start this to kill my own side. I started this because I'm a socialist, basically.
I thought I was right.
Yeah,
I thought it was
right.
right.
But this is when you get into this thing where Megatron, as a character in IDW, represents socialism and communism in the real world. That's what the character's all about. He starts out as a miner working in a
Mm.
class-based system, and Optimus Prime is a cop, right? So he starts out as a miner, and they basically discard of him in the class-based system. We don't need you to mine anymore, so you're worthless. You're not getting anything from us. So he writes a manifesto.
Oh my god, he's Lennon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, at the moment, he's Marx, right?
Well,
And what happens is,
why are we splitting hairs, Brian? But go
yeah,
on.
well, no, it's important, right? Because what
Yes,
happens
wait.
is, him and Optimus Prime become great friends, right? And they lead the rebellion together, and they win. This is the history of the Transformers in the IDW universe. So, but the ruling council vote Optimus the leader instead of Megatron, which Megatron doesn't like. So you've got the whole struggle between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, because that's when the war between the two of them start.
Oh,
And you
shit,
get
yeah.
Trotskyism. You get, like Marx never got to rule. Trotsky got
Yeah.
killed. All that
Yeah.
stuff. Then he becomes Stalin.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah.
And in the end, he becomes Gorbachev because.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but that's so he's the entire and just to hammer the point home. Like, I mean, I can remember reading this and going, "This is what they're doing here." He gives the speech from the end of Rocky 4. We can all be brothers. Like, he basically gives that speech.
Yeah.
There's this great moment. Like, I'm joking about this, but it's really, really well done. And there's
Right.
this moment where the Lost Light, the ship, goes to this planet, and it's a planet of remembrance where a flower is planted for everyone who dies because of some reason. So if there's a disease, there's a number of plants,
Yeah.
one for every flower who's died because of that reason.
Mm.
For example, there's a statue of Megatron that Megatron finds, and it's just like nearly the planet's covered around them. And there's this great panel of Megatron just standing there surrounded by pink flowers, one for every soul he's snuffed out. It's dark as hell, but like the way it presents it, it's just brilliant. Like,
That sounds so good.
It sounds good and yet very, very morbid and yet very familiar.
Mm.
So it's kind of weird. That's scary and weird, and I like it. I'm
Yeah.
interested. I'm
So-
digging it.
yeah. So
Go
kind
on.
of eventually around the year 2019, 2019 they ended this continuity. Unicron showed up, which is the traditional way to end a Transformers continuity. They have a last war with Unicron, blah blah blah, and they restarted a new one. And that's when I kind of hopped off.
Mm,
So I can't really speak to how good it was since then, but they're giving up the license, so I can only assume it hasn't done
too
too well.
well.
Yeah.
And
But
could you
um,
think that's because of the movies and whatnot that's come out?
I don't know. I mean, the
Mm,
movies, as crap as the Michael Bay ones are, they put so much money into the Transformers franchise. As a fan of them, as a fan of the Transformers, I can't completely hate the Michael Bay films. There's always an
yeah,
asterisk that my favorite toy probably only got made because of them, or these comics only really got licensed because of them.
yeah, true.
Uh,
Yeah, because didn't the IDW license happen around the same time as the
yes, is
that
the
first
first
movie
Michael
came
Bay
out?
film. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to
So
ask. Would it be around that then? So that makes
mm,
The the
interesting.
the problem the problem they probably had as well is they had a 20-year continuity and they ended it.
mm,
That is a
Yeah.
jumping off point
it is a
for
hopping
a
off point, not a
lot of
hopping on
people.
point. Yeah, yeah,
That is completely a jumping off point. That's
But what do
like,
you think is going to happen
okay,
next with the
I've
license?
whew.
I don't know.
Why don't we
Like
know the answers to this, Brian?
I don't even have a like. I mean, um, I've forgotten his name. Guy who has the
Kirkman?
license now. Do you love Kirkman?
Oh,
Kirkman. Like
Kirkman.
he's
That
known for
you
really, really
love.
long run comics.
Yeah.
So like,
It's just going to
hopefully
sit
there'll be
there
something.
and on a shelf.
If Robert
Well,
Kirkman
no.
wants to write Transformers, that'd be
Yeah,
really
that would
good.
be savage.
You
Like,
know what?
Yeah.
What will probably happen is we'll hear some quiet, and then big rumors about Disney buying it. I'm putting money on down right now.
mm, mm,
Tell me I'm wrong. €2 on the table. Telling you now.
yeah.
It wouldn't be
They're
like
definitely gonna.
it'd be stupid not to. How many times have you rebooted something so fucking close in so many years and be like, you know what? If we were to apply our magic and our formula, come on, man. Like, look how did Bobo's doing great. Mando, feckin' like Marvel, like all the TV that they're already booting into the place.
Mm,
So I don't know.
I'm su-
Or
I'm
maybe
surprised Boom
Sony.
didn't try to pick this up.
maybe they did. You don't know.
Yeah, because
Like
like they
Hasbro like
have,
their money, so they will have
yeah,
just
because
taken the.
Boom has absolutely killed it with the Power Rangers comics.
Mm.
Like that's some of that stuff is
Miss
so
Power
good.
Rangers so much. You know?
And
Oh,
interesting because Power Rangers now belong to Hasbro.
That's right.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'd expect them. I'd expect them to try and universe
Sweep it up.
Integrate them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, a Toys Universe, that'd be a bit weird as well.
Yeah, they
Be like Buzz Lightyear
they
all
d-
over again.
well,
I'm reaping the
they've
eye of the
done.
hurricane. I'm just saying that for Chopper Byrne, who's asked me to drop a Furmanism. There's the Furman, much like Chris Claremont with the X-Men, is known for you dropping certain phrases in his comics. And reaping the eye of a hurricane is one of the most common ones. But anyway, that's
I
that
find that
era, that
very
particular
interesting.
run. That's not even the only really good comic. There was other ones called Last Stand of the Wreckers and Robots in Disguise, which are of similar quality, to be honest, but not quite just as perfect as More Than Meets the Eye. So, like, I mean, I have friends who say it's the best comic that was ever made. I mean it. Like, I'm not sure I'd go that far, but it's in the discussion. Do you know what I mean?
It's
If you were
pretty
to give
deep
me,
for them.
yeah, if you were to give me a top five, it's definitely going to be in there.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
After the
So
conversation we've been
that's
having all week about this, I can guess.
mm,
Right, definitely top 5. Would it be a 7?
mm. It'd be seven, yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
a 7.
But that's why I thought it was really interesting that I there's a lot of people who like comics who don't know this,
Yeah,
who have no idea of this part of the comic book
And you're
world.
right, because this could
Mm,
just disappear and you're kind of thinking about it's like what happened to it and then you find out and you're like, oh, so we don't have any more of that? Don't take it
yeah,
for granted.
and that would be a tremendous shame if they
Mm,
go back to simple pew pew comics. Like it would. Don't
yeah.
want that.
We're a bit too
But I'm
mature
done.
for that now. Look
That's
at
it.
you. Transformers, more than meets the brine. So we're going to be moving on to what next, lads? What are we moving on to next?
Operation Blade. So I chose this. I thought if we're going to be talking about comic movies, we should talk about, in my opinion, the Progenitor. Uh, I think people forget that Black Panther wasn't the first black superhero. Wesley Snipes
Bam, bam,
should absolutely be respected.
Sorry, got into it.
But I was so happy to watch this again. This film's fantastic.
Oh God, I sat through the whole lot, and it was the third one that made me really go. Ooh.
Can't believe you watched the three of them.
Shut up, you! I was, you know me. I go deep.
You do, yes, but God, that third film sucks.
It's
awful.
one of those like 2 is so good.
2's great.
Yeah, 2 was great, and I felt like on the back of 2, 3 was going to be awesome, and then we got. She got to listen to her playlist, you know, get her into the Killing Field. It's like.
He went from none of the playlist in 10 seconds.
It's one of the most severe off a cliffs you'll ever witness is between 2 and 3.
Yeah, it's so obviously so different. But go on.
You know, I'd actually argue that the importance of Blade doesn't just extend to being like the first of the modern era of comic book films. Like I didn't have time to watch it all, but I've watched it a lot, and I did watch the first 3/4 of it today, and like the bang of Matrix off this, and this was 2 years before the Matrix.
Smell of Matrix off it, man. There's so much fucking PVC leather. It's unreal.
So much leather.
And Oakleys for days.
Yeah, so this film had a huge influence on just pop culture
and a big budget for Oakleys.
Yeah, and a massive
massive budget for leather jackets, Oakleys, and boots. Oh my God!
The intro to this film, I think, is one of the best first 5 minutes of a film that's ever existed.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool from them going into the vampire nightclub to the blood raining down, and I think one of the coolest things I've ever seen is as that guy manically scrambles away, covered in blood. He gets to Blade, and Blade is perfectly clean.
Oh, and he's perfectly crisp, which I still can't. Not even on his shoes.
Absolutely.
I freeze framed that. You can watch it. I looked at that man's shoes. He walked in when that place was wrecked, and that guy had to be probably sprayed how many times? Crawl up to me, but don't touch the boots. So much.
The room is utter blood-covered chaos.
It's so good.
Perfectly clean.
No, it's such a good entrance. As you said, it's such a good entrance into it because you're kind of like, okay, well, you're obviously don't know what the story is. You just met this girl. It's a party thing. Okay, we're walking through an ice locker. Okay, everything is fun. Oh, I love you, baby. Was that a body hanging? I'll just keep walking forward. It was the build up of that I was like, Jesus. When I really sit back and watch it, it was like, was that a dead body hanging? Okay, everything's cool. Okay, was that guy just drinking blood? And then it just slowly culminates into this giant splash into and everyone was into it. I was into it. Even rewatched it, I was into it. So good.
Well, it was so much food.
Food. Yeah, they're like they eat that stuff.
Yeah.
like us dropping lamb chops on our heads.
Jerry, you don't go to Dicey Riley's to do that, no.
Soup foam party.
But it was such a good story of how it built up to the whole, I love the whole idea of this kind of god and that they were going to bring him back, and it looked like it was going to go that direction, so close, having everything in the palm of your hand, and then the last typical moment of every action movie was like, he got away and he managed to kill everyone in the process, including your man that we'd never seen again, that actor. What was his name? Exactly.
Stephen Dorff.
Donald Logue.
Exactly.
Well, Stephen Dorff. There's also Donald Logue, who I love. Donald Logue's
Gene Quinn, or something like that. What's his name?
Quinn, the guy who gets his arms cut off and his face destroyed. He's in What We Do in the Shadows.
Is he?
As himself.
Really?
And he's like, yeah, I was in Blade, and I was like, maybe I should be a vampire.
Maybe I should be a vampire.
I love What We Do in the Shadows. That's such a good series.
It's so good. Yeah. But yeah, he's in that.
No, but
I would say the only thing that I don't like about this film is it's much like the Transformers, the movie, super front loaded. But how can you keep that level of awesome going? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's why they probably fell down on 3, though. You know.
Yeah, the entire series is kind of front loaded.
Yeah. There's a big whiff of trying to look at blood in the middle of that film. All right.
But I will say this: it was pretty good with your man Whistler in it. I can't remember the actual country singer's name.
Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. Have to say it was very good. brought a lot of like gritty kind of like this old narky flavor to it, and I just loved every part of his. Even in up to the third one, I know it was like, oh, it's so and so's daughter. I was like, of course they're gonna swing in that angle. That's fine. But I just wish they would have kept him longer as a vampire, like immortal wise. You know, just kept it going. Felt like that could have
I
kept it going, and that would have been good, and just scrap fucking Ryan Reynolds your one out, and just kept it going for like another angle, and kept the whole storyline of it. But that was the only disappointment I have, was that bleeding third movie. Just can't. I can't. It's just so
I
cringe. So many
yeah,
vests.
there's what's his name, Dominic something, the guy who like I feel like the
Your man
third
from
movie.
Jailbreak or whatever it's called, Prison
Yeah,
Break.
from Prison Break.
Mm.
I feel like the third movie, they're like, someone was like, you have to do Dracula, and they're like, oh, do we have to do
Oh,
Dracula?
do we have to do the
Dracula's so,
Dracula angle?
Dracula's so old fashioned, and oh, it's a
But he
story
is
for
part
old
of the
people.
Marvel universe anyway, right?
Certainly
Yeah,
is.
so
Yeah,
To
so
this
like,
day.
so
do you
so
think
we're gonna
that's
call
kind
him
of tainted
Drake.
that side of it?
We're gonna call him Drake, and then we're gonna
I'm
try
gonna
and hype
call
up
him
the movie as
Drake.
possible.
So
And
2000s.
we're gonna put iPods in it, and I'm like, oh, the
And
guy,
it's got,
somebody just, oh, I
it has
hate
to
it
be
so
white
much.
earphones while she's wearing her black vest and her bleeding bow, and she strikes.
Because like nobody needs to hear anything when they're fighting.
No, it's
You need
completely
to be
unimportant
able to
when there's
hear
a
when you're
vampire coming at you
fighting.
from the left.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if somebody's coming at
Oh,
you and you're like, it's cool, dude, I'm concentrating. This is me, wait for
uh,
it. There it
it's Triple
is.
H in the third one,
Like,
though, isn't it? It's been so long since I watched Blade 2 or 3, but I think it's Triple H, isn't it, in the third one?
Triple H is in it, and
Yeah.
he's like with your one. I can't
That's
remember
a,
her
that's a,
name, but
that's a
she's such a
highlight.
good actress, and she has even the dog. He even has the Pomeranian as one of those like weird. The
The
almost,
Reavers.
I'm just gonna say this. It looks like one of those that I have. I'm just saying. It just kind of have like woo. I was like, oh yeah, girl, I see it. Nice job. It's clean. But it's
The reason, by the way, that Blade 3 is so bad is probably the director, because it's David S. Goyer.
Oh,
Who,
right, that, I didn't
what
even
else has he
realize.
done?
well, he's directed nothing because he directed Blade 3. But
Oh, that makes sense.
he's
He's
one
heavily
of the
involved in
writers of
the
Blade
DC
1.
universe.
Yeah, he's kind of very famous for annoying comic book fans,
Oh,
because he
so
has
he's
this
not
habit
welcome to
of,
Comic Con, is he?
well, I'm sure he can get in the door, like, but he has a habit of completely rewriting characters or throwing away characters,
When
and
does
Yeah.
it pisses, or like completely changing characters, like just using the name type of thing. And he'd be really well known for, like, he wrote a lot of the early superhero films in the 90s and noughties. Like,
He wrote who was in it? Who was the original Nick Fury movie?
Oh,
Was that
David
um,
was that
Hasselhoff.
Doctor?
David Hasselhoff,
It was
yeah.
Hasselhoff.
It's
He
the
wrote that
Huff.
film,
Hmm.
and he wrote the Black Ops games.
Oh God, did he?
Yeah, he wrote the Black Ops games.
No,
Uh,
I enjoyed those a little bit until the
Do
online.
you know
And
what
then
I
he would-
thought? The first film, the CGI should be way more sucky than it is. It's 1998.
But that's why I was really like
going
the
to call
two.
him the
The
CGI.
third one, and the CGI when it comes to the third one, don't get me started, okay? That's fine, because even the yeah, but the first one I have to say I like the fact that they tried to avoid as much and really stick to like actual practical effects.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
death
so it's
That
simple when they
animations-
use it. Like,
I think
but
the
then
death
again, it was
animations still
quite
look
a-
good.
it was quite that era in the late 90s. Obviously, we're going through like Matrix, that Letterfield. Even the big fat fella, the big vampire that had the fucking the monitors all around.
Pearl.
Yeah.
Pearl, yes. Oh God, what a great character. So good. Just sit there every 2 seconds. So good, man. Just couldn't get a word out. But like, just having that, like, he was just a guy in a huge suit and just totally laid out like a sheet. But it was so practical that you're like, he is gruesome and disgusting and looks like he's covered in KFC grease. So,
You're
you know what I
saying
mean?
that,
Like,
you were saying that the CGI should be worse. I think you're forgetting that you didn't watch the last quarter of the film, which
I know the blood god
didn't-
thing
has
looks
all the
awful.
real.
it's very shiny and very Microsoft clip art.
I
Very
know,
Very,
out
right?
like, it's-
But like early on in the film, in the blood dance scene, there is a bullet time sequence in 1998 where he's stabbing a vampire and he
Yeah.
dusts as the camera turns around him. That can't have been easy to do. Like,
Those dusty animations, I think they look really good. They still hold up
They
pretty
still
well.
hold up pretty well, I
Yeah,
think.
but
Yeah,
I'm not going to defend.
Ashing, if you will, then dusting.
the bit
Yeah.
where the old vampires become gargoyles is also awful.
Yeah.
Just the
It looked
clip art on screen.
Yeah, it clip. That's the only way I could say, because it's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna add like bubble 3D and bust, and you're like, okay, it looks very shiny now and very texturalized in a weird, freaky way. I
Well,
suppose
it is
some people like-
1998. Like,
Yeah,
It
well,
is, yeah. Oh, it should be
Yeah.
worse. You're right.
Yeah.
Some of the people in chat may not have been fucking walking around in nappies back then, but back in our day, that was our effects. Made them. Clip art.
mm,
But all in all, what I want to see is that okay. So now that we've dealt with Wesley Snipes' beautiful blade, what are we gonna do with
Wesley Snipes needs to be involved in what's
Do you
coming.
think in terms of continuity, are we going too far with this whole time traveling thing? I think it's starting to like pick up in other mediums that I'm watching. The multiverse, the time travel. I said this 2 years ago or something like that to use now at this point.
Everyone wants a metaverse.
Everybody wants a metaverse and everybody wants to time travel and fix their mistakes. And I get it.
But
There's a lot out
I
there.
I don't even think you should put Wesley Snipes in as Blade. I think you put Wesley Snipes in as the Whistler character with the next movie.
I'd concur. Have Wesley as Whistler. That'd be cool.
Wesley is Whistler, because
100%.
then if you want to pull the whole multi-universe thing, then that's
Yeah,
a good
then you
that's
can-
a good sideline, and I'll
you
be
can-
okay with him being immortal as well. Then
Yeah,
we can
he
continue
can be
on
old
that.
Blade.
Yeah,
Like Old Man Blade.
I would like that a lot.
I love that as a film.
Old Man Blade.
Last Stand.
Hanging out with Hugh Jackman's
Blade's Last
fucking
Stand.
Wolverine, just two elflas going around.
Yeah.
Having enough shit.
Literally, Blade's like, I'm at my tether. I'm going to Transylvania. I'm taking on the Vampire Council. Do Blade's Last Stand. Oh, it'd be amazing.
Would it though?
Mm.
Yeah, I love Wesley Snipes. I think he's an incredible actor.
What do
Wesley
you think is
Snipes
going to happen
Can
though?
do. Wesley Snipes can do more emotion by not moving his face than almost any other actor I've seen.
I just can't, like, anytime I think of Wesley Snipes, I instantly go to fucking Demolition Man. Like, Simon Says.
Yeah, and he can also have more character by moving his face a lot.
Yeah. Simon Says.
But I just going back to Blade. I think there's bits in this film where I just noticed there's bits where he's so sad.
Yeah, but he thinks about his man an awful lot, right? And the fact is, on the first one that he meets his man, they really hold that down to the last act. His man's dead.
I really
killed her,
believe him
kinda
as Blade.
Would they retell that kind of storytelling for the new Blade though? As in,
That's
are we
how they
gonna
get
see
powers.
more pearls? Is what I'm wondering about or worried about. If I see
I
more
don't- I
fucking
don't-
pearl.
You can
There-
just start Blade exists.
Yeah.
just pick
Someone
up
will
from
ask
there.
How you exist? How you? Oh yeah, my mother got bit when I was a fetus. Whatever.
Yeah,
Simple.
my master from
Blade story's
Ireland.
so easy.
Yeah, same.
There's this. I couldn't see Pearl being done the same way. One of the less talked about kind of things with the way that media is changing is the association of being overweight with being evil.
Yeah, well, like
There-
that's
Happens
but
a lot. Like
it happens
really
a lot. Yeah, especially in the 90s. Well, if you look at it, what movie I could really throw shade at, that would be a good example. Shallow Hal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a perfect example where it's like, oh, well, like, you know, you gotta be, you know, this type of woman to be accepted, and that's what you always see is when the reality is that all women are different, you fool.
Well, at least in that film, the point is that he is shallow and a dickhead.
Yeah, exactly, and that's
You
the whole
know,
point
get
of it.
over
That's
it,
it.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah,
it was an awful lot like that between the 90s and the noughties, if you will, where it was
if you
always
think
portrayed
about
that.
the source material, you can think of hundreds of overweight villains.
Yeah,
I am not sure if Marvel has an overweight hero until Squirrel Girl,
Squirrel Girl.
who is only overweight sometimes when the artist remembers to do it.
Oh.
Yeah.
She beat Dr. Doom once.
She did beat Doctor Doom once. I've not forgiven her.
I've not
I love
forgiven
Squirrel
her.
Girl. I love Squirrel Girl. She's a great character.
But
She's a
like,
fun
yeah,
character.
but that's the good thing about this is that now we're no longer living in that mindset, that kind of time, if you will. We're obviously going to be blossoming forward, moving forward. And at the end of the day, if there is change is going to be made, and they are choosing to have someone who is going to be an overweight hero, or I don't know if there actually is, besides Squirrel Girl that you pointed out. So fucking be it. Like, get over yourself that you want everything to be pristine and perfect. That's why I struggle as a woman. No,
Yeah.
But
Well,
like at the end of the day, it's whatever. at this point,
Gilgamesh
I don't
in
care.
Eternals is, I wouldn't say he's overweight, but he's not
Yeah.
the stereotypical chiseled, like he's tough as,
Um,
the whole point to him is that he's tough.
Yeah, well, that's the point of him. He's supposed to be built as a walking
brick.
brick house. You know what I mean?
what's his name? I mean, names is terrible. Doctor Strange's the real Sorcerer Supreme now.
Oh yeah, Wong, yeah,
Wong.
Wong.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another one.
Wong's pretty badass.
I was I like
The
when you're,
abomination.
when I'm talking
There's only,
about
like,
when I'm
five.
talking about
Yeah.
overweight, I'm not talking about someone that like, you know, obviously is I don't even see that as overweight. You know what I mean? I'm talking about something that is like cartoonishly big.
Cartoonishly, yeah.
Cartoonishly big.
Yeah.
Right? That's I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it in a way that
They'll probably
visually
do-
that's the only way I can visually put it down. Sorry, I have ADHD.
I
I'm
can
the only how I
see-
have to communicate. But if you know what I mean, that kind of
I can
side of it, you know?
Because the character's gotten real popular, I can see Marvel doing like a good version of MODOK at some point. Like,
MODOK.
you know, there's like, you know, there's the MODOK whatever letters. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
You do a good one at some point. I hate MODOK. I hate MODOK as a character so much.
We had this discussion. I did read a good MODOK comic once.
Oh, for God's sake.
I also hear that the animated series is pretty funny.
Yeah, I
people
must give it a
liked
go.
but
Yeah.
I have feelings against MODOK. I hate his design. He looks awful.
He's of his time.
He is of his time. It's a different time.
He is off his time.
It's
I just
different
wanted
time.
to. Are either of you aware what Blade looked like when he first appeared in the comics?
No.
Because I'm going to share
I've
something.
seen.
Unless
that,
I
but
have
it's
the
been
one-
so
well.
long.
Give me a look.
Have a look at that now.
Okay. Well, I'll have to share. I'll share it into the chat, obviously. Oh yeah.
Ah yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
there
I'm
you go.
talking about. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love a bit of that.
Yeah.
If you're
Well,
ever
can
doing
see
like
why
a
they went with-
Blade.
You can see why they went with the all black costume. To be fair to them.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely.
yeah.
Speaking of its
Very,
time,
it's very 70s look
It's
kids.
super 70s. Yeah. Even down. I love that look though. In fairness, it's quite like, the whole big long collars, the long trench coat, the obnoxious green or obnoxious yellow or whatever. It's quite cool. I like that a lot. I feel like that would be nice if they could bring that a little bit back as well.
I do think Dracula should have his money. To be fair,
Yeah.
he should be the one going knocking on Dracula's door looking for money.
I think that was maybe my favorite aspect of the kids show was when they put him in the costume for those 5 minutes.
That was great. Yeah, the 70s costume.
That was
I
fantastic.
smiled. I smiled. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
Like it.
So that's Blade. If anyone hasn't seen White Men Can't Jump, you should watch White Men Can't Jump because that film is incredible.
Wesley Snipes is brilliant in it, and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Brilliant
Yeah.
movie.
I'm just like, I love Wesley Snipes. Like,
Oh,
genuinely
Wesley
when he
Snipes
was
is
in, I tend to like.
cracking. Like, I was only talking about
Yeah.
that earlier about Expendables 3, how funny it was. He was sitting on the train. It's like, so what are you in prison for? It's like, tax evasion. So funny. Simon Says Die. And I love him. I think he's just fantastic.
Actually, there's one little fact about Blade that I wanted to mention, and it ties into modern comic book movies.
Go on.
There was a deleted scene in which a actor called Stephen Norrington played Michael Mobius.
No.
Hey, whoa,
The
whoa,
director
whoa.
Yeah.
played Morbius in Blade. Wow. That's pretty cool. That is pretty
Yep.
cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah. There is a
facts.
deleted scene. I saw it today on Wikipedia. I thought it was very interesting.
The more you know.
That's-
How close are we to Mobius now? Or Morbius now? It's pretty soon.
It's on its 7th delay. So
Oh,
pushed
it's delayed
back.
again.
I think
they
the
pushed it
reason
back when
why it's
Omicron
delayed
started.
is because of goddamn No Way Home. I bet they just did not anticipate how much of a fucking blaze it was. They're like, I think we need to tie up some ends here with your man, like fucking, what's his name? Michael Keaton. Because obviously we've seen him in parts of it. It's like,
The
hey, what's up,
trailer,
Doc?
yeah.
I was like, what the hell is he doing in a white coat standing beside an ambulance? Is he in a different timeline? So that's why that's my
April
theory.
22. April 1st. Oh, no, it's an April Fool's. The film doesn't exist.
Terrible.
Literally April 1st it comes out. Like
It says January 28th.
that was
Well,
it. No, it was delayed since then.
Everything's getting delayed. But
Now
like,
it's
are we
April
sure
1st.
that the new Spider-Man's going to be coming out on Netflix? That's what we read last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, February
Yeah,
22nd.
it'll be out by then,
as
Which
far
is
as I know.
strange. Like, still can't get over it. In case anyone out there's like realizing it, just as I did last week. And I said this actually on my stream last night. Funny enough, that the lovely new Spider-Man No Way Home is just associated with Marvel, but it's made by Sony, so you don't automatically think that it'll jump over to Disney. It's not. So
Yeah, well, yeah.
you gotta get your flicks,
just
or else
has-
get
it
your
just has-
ex-girlfriend's Maz login, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, Sony
Yeah,
have a
they-
deal with Netflix primarily, but there's a secondary deal with Disney Plus to get Spider-Man films on Disney Plus. But the big deal is with Netflix, and they'll service Netflix first.
I
Yep,
wonder if they're
the
gonna
only-
pull a like, oops, we just accidentally released it on the same day on our service, and then they have to pay millions because they can afford it. Like, I can see that happening. Oh, whoopsie!
no,
Oh,
I can't.
fine here.
Sony get a lot more out of the Marvel deal than I think Marvel do.
They do.
I hope so.
Marvel's like 20%.
If I was Sony, I would be
But then
like,
again,
"Let's
Marvel's
just
probably
behave."
crying about it. But there was an update. I think Tom Holland got his well, for the next Spider-Man, he'll be the next Spider-Man because usually it stops after a certain couple of years in the contract. But it looks like he's going to be returning. I think it's a good move. I think he's a very good
I can-
character of Spider-Man. Oh, here we go. Go on.
I think we're going to get 4 separate Spider-Man films next. Like, I think it'll be. I think
Well,
they're all going to get one. I genuinely think they are. I think they're going to.
They're all
if
going to
we
get
do-
one.
If we want to do regular things like the Transformers thing we just did, the Sony hacks will be a great one, and the amount of Spider-Man films they had in pre-planning. There was
Yeah.
an
Yeah, they
anime
had like
film.
Black Cat and everything, man.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
You heard me
real,
right? An
yeah.
anime
I didn't
film.
know there was an anime one. That's a terrible idea.
It's an awful idea.
Well, like,
Just
what's she doing on our
bad.
Monday live? Are we going to watch Uncle Ben die and her going through the fucking
Oh
grief?
yeah. Are we? Is
Do I have to put up with more pearls? I'm not putting up with more pearls.
Anime origin movie where it ends with her sitting by the phone going, "He's dead. He's been killed."
I see. Okay. Click.
This all ties back in. It's Amy Pascal who I was
is
defending
terrible.
earlier, but sometimes I do not defend Amy Pascal.
What are you
Terrible
doing, Brian?
idea,
Just
like-
stay quiet. Just read what's on the teleprompter. Jesus.
Oh.
Oh,
What
right.
would you do, Aunt May? Oh, I'm dealing with. Oh, it's
Do you know
great.
what I would-
My
you know what I
grandson
would
is
love
doing
to
fine.
see?
He's swinging his way through college. I can imagine it. Oh God.
Do
Anyway.
you know what I would love to see? Is I want to see what do you call him back. I want them to do Superior Spider-Man and Spider-Verse, and have his name
Also,
Doc Ock.
Doc
yeah,
Ock.
as a
Voice him.
Spider-Man in his body.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be
I think
good.
that'll be because I was like, I want him around more. I think he. What's his name? It's
I
been
would.
long now.
Yeah, I agree. That would be actually pretty deadly to have him, especially in auto. You know,
Alfred
or audio
Molina.
even. Yeah.
Alfred Molina, yes, because
Alfred
he
Molina.
is absolutely fantastic, but he's gotten very old.
Mhm.
He's gotten
like,
on.
You could just have him as a
I-
voice in the head, like
Have him when it has the voice. I think it'd be a really good idea.
It's not a bad idea. And a lot of like good voice actresses have gone through as AI, I think. Who was it? Who
There's
was
a
that
great-
played Karen? Was it
Cartoon.
can't remember who the actress was, but it was the Friday. I think it was one of our client, Ashlyn.
She is
Big.
Irish, actually Irish. Yeah.
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 So she's like,
Yeah.
"What do you take
It was
me
nice
for?"
hearing a genuine Irish accent. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real
Well
Irish
done.
accents. Do you hear us out
Real-
there? Are you listening? Are you listening?
Stop appropriating Irish.
Do you
accents.
understand
You're
why I
bad
was
at it.
stunned in the cinema when I heard your man Drew speak? I was like, he's my kind. I hear he can't-
Representation matters, people.
Representation matters. He didn't pronounce his T's in the middle. He didn't pronounce it at the
Irish.
end.
33 and a
Oh.
third.
Right. 33 and a tree.
As an Irish person that doesn't say that, every time an American was like, "Oh, say the thing," I was like, "I don't speak like that. Sorry." Like,
I don't
you
have
know.
that dialect. You need to go south to the peasants. I see how it is, I know.
Yes,
Get it.
I literally was like, "Oh."
It's like,
if
oh,
you
I
were
can't
far away
I
from
can't hear you from all the way down there. I can hear the T in my one. What about you? Like, But yeah, it's actually pretty good. I'd like to see more Irish being thrown into, especially in AI, because I think it's good to have a bit of a banter if you're gonna have like an AI in there with a bit of attitude, or even
Everybody
something in
loves
Star
Irish
Wars
accent.
is a droid.
Yeah,
Every
does
Irish
appear.
accent gets a little bit better, whatever. You could throw it into a toaster and make it sound great.
Surprised Siri isn't Irish.
Just don't
Anyway,
have it be Brad Pitt. Though I love Snatch so much.
I
right.
do.
I have to pack.
Where are you going? Oh yeah, you're heading
yes.
off. You have to pack.
Mm.
We have to figure out next week. We're going to be live next week, aren't we?
Mhm.
We are.
We are.
We are.
Going
Yeah.
We're going
I
live.
won't
aren't
be
we?
here, but yeah.
Brian won't be here, but we're going to
Yes.
swing in another one. It's going to
We,
be extra interesting.
Anything you want to watch, Take? Until we watch.
Is there anything I would like to suggest to watch? Oh, I did have one on the cards, and I was like, God, I need to watch this, but now I have to forget. But do you have something on the table that you would like to share?
I don't think I didn't actually.
Because I screamed Blade from last week, in fairness, so I can hold off for the next rounds afterwards.
Well,
Unless
Blade
Brian
was
wants
my
to
choice
throw it in.
originally. Blade was originally my choice.
Yeah, but I screamed out initially, I remember.
Enjoyed it thoroughly. I was so happy to watch it.
I would suggest people to sit down and watch a little bit of Doom Patrol. That's my suggestion to use. I'm going to continue it on. But if you
Watch
haven't
the first
watched it,
couple episodes of it or something.
I
if you want
might watch the first couple episodes.
couple of
before then
episodes.
we'll talk about that.
give Brendan Fraser a fucking chance. We all love him here on the internet. Bren, how are we, babe? Have a look at
Man.
Doom Patrol, and we can sit down and we talk about the first couple of episodes and see how you feel about it.
Very few people got
or
their
the tell of
careers
it.
as shafted as Brendan Fraser did.
Fucking love Bren. Only because
Yeah.
he had
You know, though.
injuries when like the Mummy and all that stuff. God bless him. We love
Anyone
him.
remember Bedazzled?
Yes, I only watched that not long ago.
Yeah, that's a good film.
So cheesy, so love
It's
it.
so cheesy, but I love the fact you like get to see Brendan Fraser like do 7 different characters in one film. Pretty fun.
I love this the Mexican drug lord one or wherever it was, or Colombian drug lord, the drug lord one. And yeah, blah, 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 and I was like, it's like, blah, 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 why am I speaking Spanish? This is amazing. So good.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, Doom Patrol. I'll ask you to watch a couple of episodes. Just let me know what you think. And guys in the channel or the chat, whoever's watching this next, have a look at it. Scream at me. Let me know what you thought of it. Love Brendan Fraser. But yes,
It's
Go
been a
on.
blast, everyone.
has always been a blast, lads.
As always. I I am at Brian Von Doom on YouTube. At Brian Von Doom on. I'm as one live on YouTube. I'm at Brian Von Doom on Twitter.
Aiden616 on Twitter. That's AODHAIN. Been a pleasure. Bye, everyone.